It's not unusual to be scared of coming to a cuddle session. I have clients who show up who are like really nervous, anxious, or like, I don't know what this is. I don't know what I got myself into. Sometimes they're like, are you going to kill me? And I'm like, no, you can just within a few minutes, it is a completely different experience for them. They are able to relax and be with me. And I'm talking about me. I can't say this for everybody. If you go to cuddling with somebody else, I don't know what it's going to be like for you. But most people can really relax with me. And sometimes I get this question around, like, so afraid of like crossing a boundary. Like, I want to come to a cuddle session, but I don't trust myself. I don't know how I'm going to show up. And there's this juxtaposition, this like conflict between, I'm a really respectful person. Like, please, I want you to believe like I would never do anything to disrespect. There's one side. And then the other side is like, but I'm a really sexual person. Right, this like conflict that I'm hearing, that it makes sense to me. And sometimes that question like, does this make sense? And I'm like, yes, I get it. And so I'm making this video for all of you out there who are like in that tension. Like, I am still a person. I still very sexual. How do I do this cuddling thing? Because, especially if you've been conditioning in all your relationships that, cuddling goes before sex, or cuddling is this thing that you do. It's almost like foreplay. Like, how do I separate those? Well, I'm going to give you, from my intuition and from like my experience, how to do this. And again, it may not work for everyone. Hopefully it can work for you, but it is definitely intention. So first of all, I also want to make a really controversial statement that I honestly think it is not possible, if you follow what I'm about to say, and I'm going to make a bold statement, to cross a boundary in the way that I've described. If you're able to follow what I'm about to say, I don't think it's possible to cross a boundary, but we'll see. I guess I haven't put it to the test. So first of all, it's really important that, in terms of with me, but I'm going to say with anybody, if you go see another professional cuddler, that you see them, and you see their humanity. And I really want to land on that. Like, this is a human being. This is another human, just like you. And it's really important that you recognize that they are more than their body, and they're more than their looks. And I think I get some of this, like, afraid of having a sexual response with me because of what I look like. And so I get that. But I also want to invite you, at least I'll make it personal, to remember that I have a soul, that I am a whole person, that I also have a history, I have a story, that I have a heart, that I have all these different parts of me that make me up more than what I look like and more than what my body looks like too. All that. So recognizing my humanity, and when you're with somebody in front of them, seeing them, this is a real person, has real feelings, and again, has so much to them. So that's first. After you've completed that action, then the next one is, I'm going to invite you to consider, where are you connecting from? So are you connecting from your genitals? Like, when you walked in that door, when you showed up in that space with that person, like, were you like focusing on your genitals and like connecting? And also want to ask you this really important question about your life. When you're out and about, when you're at the grocery store, when you're at work, when you're driving your car, like whatever you're doing, do you find that you are often showing up in the world with genitals first? Like, thinking like, and I've heard stories, people walk around going, yeah, you'd lay them and that social media. Are you thinking with your genitals? And if that's what you're doing, well, then it makes a lot of sense that when you approach me or another person for cuddling, you're like, there's this conflict. I know who I am as a person, but I also am really genital forward. And so, what do I do? So, think about connecting from other spaces. Now, not all of these, there's no right or wrong. Actually, it's okay to walk around with your genitals forward. I have no problem with this, but now you're here at a cuddle session and you're like, how do I approach this? Well, there's other parts of your body that you can bring forward. So even like, I think people often are forward with their eyes, what they're seeing. And so I get that like, oh, you're really good looking. Just notice like, am I moving my eyes forward? Our mind, I have plenty of clients who come to sessions who are in their head so much, and they're like, they're mind forward. They're just thinking about what's happening here. And I'm going to invite maybe something different. It's like, none of these are wrong. It's just, even in a cuddle session, if you were to come with me, we could play with these, which is so much fun. It's so much fun and juicy. So like, what would it feel like to like have your ears forward, like closing your eyes and really just noticing that sense and just listening to my voice, which some people come to my sessions and just ask me to talk. And I'm like, that's fun. I love talking. So I just talk and they can hear my voice. And invite maybe hands. A lot of clients often will like hold me and they won't move their hands, which is interesting to me. And because their hands aren't really, they're not experiencing me with their hands. And so I do have to remind people it's okay for you to like actually touch me. And sometimes it requires not speaking because we're good at that. And just really feel what it feels like with our hands. And my biggest request here, if I'm just kind of went down a list of different body parts, would be start with your heart. Right? If you really start here. So remember, my humanity is number one. And if you come to my session or to a session with me or to any professional cuddler, and you start from your heart, and listening to what they're saying, right? There's both. A professional cuddler will tell you what the boundaries are. Listen, and with your heart, you're present. That's an amazingly powerful point of connection. And I think that is the place where I want to invite people to come and join me. It's there. It's there we can create a lot of different things. And in using all these different points, you can create a completely different type of session. In one session, you might, I don't know, you moved from, I think, your voice or your knees, I don't know, like your feet. I've had sessions where we just touch feet, and that's so beautiful. Like there's different ways of creating sessions with this intention of making those connections. So this also transitions, if we're doing a heart-centered experience, is which my invitation, eventually with trust and with time, you can start including the other body parts. And you can do them right away too. I mean, I ideally would like to solidify that connection, heart connection, but then you can start bringing in other parts and have that whole body experience where, again, genitals aren't maligned. They're not like thrown to the side. They can be present for the power and the energy that they bring. They're just not taking full center stage. I think that's my point, is the genitals aren't like right there in front, like in control and like driving the car, right? They can be there because they are an important part of who we are as humans. Okay, and the last part, the part that I feel is equally important, is when we're having this experience of sharing, which is very valuable. We belong to each other for that hour or 2 hours. We belong. We are committed to that time together to share that. And we kind of open up and we connect. And equally important, I need to return you to yourself. So even though we are connected in that time, when it's over, you can't have me and I won't have you. And that's hard. I think that's probably one of the reasons why people don't return with sessions with me, because they don't get to have me. I don't get to belong to them, right? We belong to each other in that space and time, and then it's over. So returning you to you, like so, because we give each other this in the space, I need to return you. And that is extremely important in a cuddle session. one of the things that I do at the end of the session is I like to give like a big bear hug. Like I like to get on top, lie, and like I just like squeeze you really tight, and it's awesome. And that is kind of my way of being like, here, I'm giving you back to you, like almost like putting you back together, like the pieces, putting you back together. And it's I love it. And I think people respond well to it. And I want you to take what the session gave you, what we created together, take that with you into your life. And ideally, you give that to somebody else, right? You find that person whenever it is that you're ready, or whenever it is that they show up, if that's ever, that's to be your experience in this lifetime, and you give that part. And this time, you have learned, because you've spent time with me, how to give from your heart, how to connect from the heart, and how to connect from all the other body parts, right? All of that's present because you've learned how to do that. And now you can give all of your humanity, you can give all of who you are to another person. Do you see how I did that? I brought it all together. Because it's like it's like I'm creating access, or like I'm showing you who you are as a human. In me showing up as a human and then bringing these connections, you get to see yourself as more human. And then you can show up for another person and see their humanity, and you can give them yours. Isn't that beautiful? So, that kind of went a little deep there. I'm grateful that this is possible. And I'm not worried about you crossing boundaries if you have these points really present with you. Okay. Take care, y'all.